Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards for this new panel for the feature films. We have a director from Netherlands with us this morning, Adrian. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Matt. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for being with us. You directed the feature film Legacy of Lies. It's an action film, and it's going to be the opening film of the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards this year. Congratulations for that.
Thank
Can
you.
you
That's
tell
great.
us Can you tell us a little bit about you before we start, so we get to know you a little bit better and understand that's not your first film? So give us a little bit of a background about your work.
Yes, it's not my first film. I did two feature films before Legacy, but I consider Legacy of Lies my first real serious film. The other films that I did are called Castings and Blind Spot, and I call them more my student films. I was experimenting in those films, but I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from making a lot of mistakes in those films, especially screenwriting. And at one point, I developed the idea for Legacy of Lies, and I tried to find finance for it. I tried to find producers for it. And at one point, I had a producer in Ukraine, Alla Belaya, who really liked the story. She teamed up with a Polish producer, Chris Solek, and basically the three of us developed the script into a real film.
So you co-wrote the script. Did you co-produce the movie also?
No, I'm one of the producers of the
You're one of the
film, because I got some investor attached to the project, and I wrote the script of the film. Yes.
Can you say, because you've been involved in all the stages of the pre-production and of the creative process, do you feel you had the handle on the film? Were you the master of your own film, creating it?
I was actually, and I'm very, very grateful to the two producers that I just mentioned. That they, eventually they gave me the freedom to really make my film. And of course, there is always, in the whole process of, especially when you go into production, and there's all kinds of budget issues that you have to deal with. And we had a lot of discussions about, how can we make this simpler or cheaper, or how can we do it in a different kind of way. But eventually, they always followed, let's say, my instincts and the things that I wanted to do. So eventually, I really managed to make the film that I wanted to make, and I'm very grateful for that.
Excellent. Can you tell a little bit what was the budget of the film, and what was the level of ambition in distribution on the marketplace for this movie? Because it's an action film, so you're gonna get distribution afterwards.
Yes, the budget was 4.5 million, and of course, you need a name actor to justify that budget, so it will be sold. So we had Scott Adkins. He has a huge fan base. I mean, in the action
He does.
world, he's one of the top guys. He's obviously the fights that he does and all the action stuff is great. But also the acting was really good in this film. He really got a chance to dive into his character, and he did an amazing job. I'm super happy with him as an actor and as a performer in the film.
How did you get to cast him in the film? Because he's demanded. He's one of these guys that, when you make a film with Scott Adkins, this is going to unlock distribution. This is going to unlock investors. So he's got value when he comes on board. How did you manage to get him in your film?
Well, basically the script, and at one point we had, let's say, the money in place, but we need, at one point you need an actor, you need a name to be able to make the
carry
film.
it.
So we could make him an offer, and he loved the script. We had a Skype call. We discussed, let's say, how I wanted to approach the film. He had some suggestions, and there was just a very relaxed and cool click between us. so that's, he's when he said yes, we could move forward and really go into pre-production.
It kind of happened based on what you just said. Kind of happened naturally. You wrote a script. The script was good. You made an offer. You was interested, and you clicked. And that's important between
Yeah.
a director and an actor. Even when it's an That's another question. Do you consider your film like as an exploitation action film, or were you trying to achieve something a little bit more different with that?
Yeah, I definitely aimed for something different than that. I
Okay.
really wanted to make a film that is not just about the action. It's not just about how do we get as quick as we can into another fight or another gunfight or car chase or whatever. I really wanted to make a film that is saying something about the world nowadays, and I think the topic of truth, and especially the truth in journalism, I think is a very important topic, nowadays. And this was at the core of the film, of the script.
It
And that
shows.
was, let's
It
say, the
shows.
abstract kind of theme, the truth in journalism, and especially in the world of espionage and power. But it also was like on different levels in the script between the interaction between the characters, and especially between Scott's character and his daughter. It's all about truth
Absolutely.
and lies.
Absolutely. It shows in the film. I mean, it's a very good action sequences, it's very good stuff, absolutely. But there is a story behind it, and there is a personal challenge for the character and personal involvement in going through everything he goes through. So, did you find? I've been facing that myself, making a movie with a message I wanted to bring to the world as a director, but then having a marketing campaign that kind of steered the movie in a different direction. Did you feel? How are you happy with the marketing around the film? You have a very good marketing in all the territories the movie is distributed. You have consistent visuals. You have consistent quality. Do you feel as a filmmaker you are happy with the way your film is sold over the world?
Well, yes, because it's been sold all over the world. It's basically sold to every territory. So that's the beginning. That's also something you have to achieve, because otherwise there will not be, let's say, a next film. And the distributors are all very happy, and they asking me when it's going to be your next film. So that's all good. I think the film was marketed very much as an action movie.
Mhm.
And in my opinion, it's not only an action movie, but obviously, with Scott being the main man, and that's, let's say, the direction they want to push it, because that's where his fan base is. But so for me, all the interviews I did, especially with Scott, it was always focused on action, action, action. But I think the film is more than that. But okay, that's the marketing. For me, the main thing is the film itself.
That's the name of the game. I mean, you have to sell the film, and the
Yeah.
better you sell the film, the more eyeballs you're gonna have to watch it. So it was not your first film, but you said you consider your two previous film like kind of rehearsals, testing the waters.
Yeah.
Did you feel with that film you were ready to go this big and this level in storytelling?
Um, Not really, honestly.
Not ready.
Well, of
That's
course.
interesting. That's very interesting. Go.
Well, it's this level of filmmaking I never did, and 4.5 million it's, I mean, it's a serious budget, but it's not that big. But we shot 90% of the film in Ukraine, which means that it would equal, let's say, a budget of 10 or 12 million in the US. So it was kind of a big production with a lot of locations, with a big crew. So and I'm the orchestra leader, let's say, so I have to get everyone moving, let's say. So it was a challenge, and I cannot say, okay, I was 100% ready for it, but once doing it, it all turned out fine, and it was just a great experience, and I had a great team with really really experienced people, so it all went well.
Can you tell us a little bit about the locations of the film? Which countries did you started to talk about it? Which countries did you go to, and where?
We shot most of the film in Kiev and part of the film in London. London, we just shot exteriors, and then all the interiors are in Kiev. And obviously, I mean, the story takes place half of the story takes place in London and half takes place in Kiev. And obviously, you know, the Kiev locations, I was really looking for gritty, post-Soviet kind of, you know, brutalism kind of architecture, because this
Gotcha.
has just such a beautiful visual look to it, very very graphical, and it's also different than a lot of films we see nowadays because Kiev has not been used that much in films. And for a spy thriller, I think Kiev is kind of the old
It's
Berlin, you know, what Berlin
it
used to
is.
be, kind of underground kind of
It's
feel.
got
Now it's
a
Kiev.
it's got a vibe of it. It's got a feel to it, and
Yeah,
very visual for these type of films. I totally
yeah,
agree with you.
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your work relationship with Scott Adkins. So you get to make a big movie with a $4.5 million budget. You get to work with one of the biggest action star on the market right now. How did you? And you didn't know him before, I guess. So
No.
how did you get to build a work relationship with Scott Adkins?
Well, first of all, Scott, of course, he's super professional. So you know, he's prepared. He knows what he wants. He knows, you know, where he's going. Um, to me, it was more a matter of, you know, let's say, and you don't have a lot of rehearsal time. You know, he comes like one day
Yeah.
before or 2 days
Yeah.
before. You have to do clothing, makeup. We had to make some photos, hair, and you know, and we went all while this was all happening. We were going through the script. You know, um, so you know, I just explained to him what my vision was, and you know, he really connected to that. And then once we started shooting, I was like, you know, for me, from the first scene, I was like, okay, he really took the part to him. He has a super strong presence, and I put a lot of really good actors around him, you know, to
Around it.
really have the whole surrounding as strong as possible. But from the first scene, he just took the part, and he was the man. It was his film from the first shot on. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, this is just going to be great. He's going to carry this big time.
Absolutely. The movie in itself, technically, has got a lot of beautiful shots. The way the camera moves and the lenses, we're going to go a little bit technical here. The lenses that were used for some of the shots, I think, really emphasize the way the camera moves and moves around the characters. It always brings, let's say, usually you want the camera to be a vehicle to the sentiments and the emotions of the characters. And I feel you managed to do that in that film. Let's say, even if it's an action film, and even during the action sequences, is it your doing? Is it the work as a director of photography? How did you achieve that very efficient look of Legacy of Lies?
Well, I wanted from the beginning. I wanted to have anamorphic lenses because this is just they're more soft, so it gets a little bit. It takes it out a little bit of reality.
Yeah.
These very, let's say, crisp kind of lenses. I'm not such a big fan of that because everything becomes very digital, you know. And anamorphic, they are a little bit softer and of course wider, and they have really this cinematic kind of quality to them. So this was a choice I made from the beginning, and then with Simon Rowling, the DP, we really discussed a lot about what kind of lighting we wanted, how we wanted the camera to move. I wanted to have, let's say, a fast-paced kind of film, but at the same time, it also has to be very classy and very, very, you know, very graphical shots because we had these beautiful locations, and I really wanted to show them. Um, and also the production design, you know, we all work together to create this look. It's a matter of colors. It's a matter of you know, like what kind of angles you like. but it's also a lot of intuition, honestly, because once you're on set and once you have the
Okay.
scene and you block the scene, then yeah, you feel what is right and what is
Yeah.
not right. But I
Yeah.
think a,
That's
a big thing is choosing locations, because locations, once you have a good location, then you have the possibilities. If you don't have a good location, or which doesn't have a lot of depth, or doesn't have, let's say, the scope, then it's really difficult to create this kind of feel.
I totally agree with you. I mean, when once you are on a good location, I mean, it brings inspiration to you as a filmmaker. I mean, as a filmmaker myself, I think I'm making better films when I know in advance the locations I'm going to use. And I like to be very involved in the scouting because I'm taking a lot of pictures and then I do a huge. I put on the wall all of the pictures of all the locations, and I have the movie in front of my eyes like that, and I get inspiration from the actual locations that I'm going to use. Do you have some sort of a similar process, maybe?
Yeah, no, exactly. Because when you're writing, you have this kind of idea of what will be the action, what will be the movement of the characters, what do you have in mind. But then once you are on location, all of a sudden these possibilities open up, because you think like, oh
Yeah,
wow, this is here and this
yeah.
is here. Oh, what if this would happen? So it becomes more real, and you can really orchestrate it in a way that that brings it, let's say, to the next stage of this.
Yeah, I would like to go back to one of the things you mentioned before. You were talking about the colors. The movie felt to me like it has a lot of a green palette to it. Is it because the natural light in Kiev was that way, or did you have with the DP and the production team the ambition to aim for a certain vibe, a certain atmosphere in terms of color?
Yes, yes. Yeah, we decided very clearly upfront that we wanted to give Kiev a certain kind of greenish look. And so we chose in the whole art direction, in the way it was lit, and of course in the grading eventually, that those colors. And London, we wanted to be a little bit more blue, a little bit more colder,
Yeah,
also to create different kinds of feelings to this. And actually, what the DP did, what was an amazing trick or an amazing thing he did, was that while we were doing location scouting, he was with the camera that we're going to shoot with Alexa. He was making stills, and then before the shoot, he was grading the stills. So before the shoot, we would
yeah.
already know what kind of color and what kind of grading we would use, so he could lit accordingly. And this was, I never saw it actually, DP doing that, but it was, I think it was a brilliant thing he did.
With the digital, it's something I've heard of it already. I mean, big blockbusters in Hollywood, sometimes they do the editing live on set to have a rough cut of the action scenes to really not to miss any shot in the final editing room. But right now, I've had the chance to have this experience with one of my DPs for one of my films, having someone who makes a couple tests and during the time I was working with the actors, he was on the computer and then came back and showed me, okay, we can do this, this, this. What do you have something you prefer? Where would you like the vibe to go? And that's a process I think it's gonna go because the digital allows it. You
Yes.
can make a screen grab, you can make a couple shots, and then go to a computer and make a quick quick color grade. So
Yeah.
that's. Do you think this kind of um, options and tools we have right now allows us as directors to do a better job?
I think it can be convenient, but it can also be very time consuming, because you're on set. You have all these people standing around, and you're just checking like, okay, what edit should I use? What option is better, this or that. I mean, you can also lose a lot of valuable time. So I had, of course, playback on set, and sometimes it's really convenient if you want to see like, okay, what is in terms of continuity, what did we do? It has to be precise. Can we look back? but I didn't really do editing on set because I just want to concentrate on the work and get as much done on that day.
Yeah.
What I would like to do next time, what I didn't do now, is that someone is editing, so I can see, let's say in the evenings or the next day, I can see what we shot the day before. So that would be very helpful, because then you can also
Yeah.
think better about transitions between scenes, and you can, you know, if you miss something or you think, oh, this is not really working, there is a possibility to do something, because you know
And to
you're
go
there.
back to it before
But
it's too late.
yeah, but when I'm on set, I really want to focus on shooting and not on editing too much, honestly.
Yeah. What about the action sequences? It's a lot of prep for safety first, and then for quality execution of the stunts and the action sequences. What's your take on choreography of prepping the moves of the actors? And do you sometimes the actors feel they are dancing with the camera, and sometimes the DPs or the camera operators feel they are following the action around? So how did you prep for the action scenes, and how far did you go on that level?
Well, my prep was hiring Tim Mann, one of the best action choreographers in the world. So, you know, he's the one that really, you know, together with Scott, they're a great team, and they worked a million times before on films. They know exactly what they do and how to do it. I discussed with him up front what kind of fight I have in mind, what are the steps within the fight, let's say the dramatic steps within the fight, how I see it, what kind of style. But then basically he and Scott, but basically Tim is then executing, let's say, the specific moves and the specific hits, and he knows exactly from what angle what punch works, to get this roller coaster, and he just shoots it, let's say, chronologically, and in the end, you just have a fantastic fight scene. That this is how it works. So I wasn't very much involved in the specific
Yeah,
execution of it.
it's a team effort. I mean, and working with great people who know what they're doing is going to make a good film in the end. And you are the captain of the ship, so hiring the right people for the job is one of your success too. Why did you guys, with your team, decide to submit the film to film festivals? Usually, it's not that common that big action films like yours, with that level of budget, use the film festivals to get some traction. What made you guys in the team of Legacy of Lies decide to go that route?
I think first of all, because we don't really see the film as, just an action movie. I think there's more to the film, and if the film would just, let's say, get distributed and being promoted as an action film, um, that would be the audience. So I think,
Yeah.
trying to get into festivals, and we've been selected in quite some festivals. We won some awards, so it's a way of opening up, let's say, the film to a broader audience, and also to get, like a broader kind of feedback, and I think the film deserves it. I mean, personally.
Okay, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. What would be uh, the feeling you had on the first day on set? Were you excited? Were you a little bit worried? What was your own personal feeling as a director?
Yeah, my first was like, what did I get myself into? I was
Me
working
too.
5 years on the script and this whole thing, and we started basically with the opening scene. That was the first scene that we shot, and it was a
Wow.
very complicated shootout, and like the opening shot with a crane and all this kind of stuff. It was
Yeah.
very technical, and it was also the first day with Scott, and there was some things, we had to get into the character right away. Um, but it was just fantastic. Yeah, I mean, you walk into your own dream. That's the thing. You came up with this thing, and then it evolves at one point into something. It manifests itself into reality, and this is just
Yeah.
this is the most amazing feeling. So, no, I feel very comfortable. Actually, I just had a very good team. I trusted everyone. I also gave them the trust. I didn't try to
Yeah.
control every little thing, and that's when you work with high level professionals. It's just things go easy.
And what was the feeling you had when on the last day of the filming? Were you satisfied? Were you excited to go edit the movie? What were you thinking about on the last day, the last shot?
Yeah, it was also a little bit melancholic because, me and the two producers, we started this film together, and it was a long road, and there was been many, many obstacles. At one point, yeah, we just went through walls basically. It's
Yeah.
so difficult to if you don't have the track record to get into it, it's so difficult. But we did it, and eventually, we did the film. And it's also strange that you've been working up to this moment for so long, and then basically it's over. But I was very happy with the result. When I started the film, I never imagined it would be this level. I never imagined it would look like that. I started out as I thought it would be a smaller film, but it just grew and grew and grew, and it became much bigger. And no, I was very happy, and I'm still very happy with
It's a
the
good
film.
sign when a film grows like that naturally around itself. It means that people believe in it. They have trust in the project, and that's usually a very good sign.
Yeah.
Last question: what would you say to the viewers of the audience of the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards to encourage them to get a ticket and watch the movie, the opening feature film of this year of the Hollywood Art and Movie Award on January 21st?
Well, I would all encourage you to see the film, and not only I think you should not only watch it if you're interested in action films. It's a spy thriller with a heart. I just hope you enjoy it, and yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's place for feedback, but I always love to hear feedback from people, what they think, how they've experienced it. So, if possible, that would be great.
Okay. Well, Adrian, thank you so much for taking the time and for sharing your experience about this film. Much appreciated. And it's always a pleasure to discuss with filmmakers like you who are achieving their dream or are achieving bigger and bigger movies every time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and good luck with the festival.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.